People with a happy marriage, what's your story?
It was an autumn evening when I first noticed the change in Jake. The man I married, the father of my children, once so full of life and promise, was becoming a stranger. The signs were subtle at first, a little more irritable, a little less present, but they were there. I tried to ignore them, thinking it was just stress from work. But the truth, as I would soon discover, was much darker. Jake was a charming man, the kind of person who could light up a room with his smile. We met in college, and from the moment I saw him, I knew he was the one. We built a life together, bought a house, had 2 beautiful kids, Emily and Noah. We had dreams, plans for the future. But those dreams started to crumble when Jake lost his job. He said he was looking for work, but weeks turned into months, and I began to suspect he wasn't even trying. He spent more time with his friends, a bunch of losers I never liked. They'd come over, drinking, doing God knows what in our basement while the kids and I were upstairs. I started finding little bags with white powder in his pockets, his drawers. I confronted him, of course. He'd get defensive, angry, say I was overreacting. But I wasn't. One night, I found our college savings account emptied. Every last cent we had put away for Emily and Noah's future was gone. When I confronted Jake, he didn't even try to lie. He just sneered at me, his eyes wild and unfocused. "What the fuck did you expect, huh? You think money grows on trees?" he shouted. I was scared, more scared than I'd ever been. I knew then that I had lost him to something far more sinister than just stress. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Jake's temper grew worse, his behavior more erratic. He would fly into rages over the smallest things, throwing dishes, smashing furniture. The kids were terrified. Emily, my sweet little girl, started having nightmares. Noah wouldn't speak. I knew I had to do something. One night, after Jake had passed out on the couch, I took the kids and left. We went to my sister's house, seeking refuge. When Jake woke up and found us gone, he went ballistic. He called me, screaming obscenities, threatening me. "You can't fucking take my kids, you bitch. I'll fucking kill you." I was shaking, but I knew I couldn't go back. But Jake found us. He showed up at my sister's house, banging on the door, demanding to see the kids. My sister called the police, and they took him away. I thought it was over, but it was only the beginning. Jake was arrested but released the next day. He was angrier than ever, and I knew he would come after us. My sister and I packed up the kids and went back to the house, thinking we could grab some essentials and leave before he got there. We were wrong. When we pulled into the driveway, the house was already burning. Flames were shooting out of the windows. The roof was caving in. I could hear Jake's laughter, manic and terrifying, coming from somewhere inside the inferno. He had done this. He had burned down our home. We called 911, and the fire department arrived just in time. They managed to save part of the house, but most of it was gone. We were left standing in the yard, watching everything we had built turn to ash. The police arrested Jake again, and this time they said they would hold him. But I knew it wasn't over. Jake was coming for us, and I had to protect my family. The next few days were a blur. We stayed in a motel, constantly looking over our shoulders. Jake's friends were still out there, and I didn't trust any of them. One night, as I was tucking Emily and Noah into bed, I heard a noise outside. My heart stopped. I crept to the window and saw Jake standing there, staring at us. He had escaped, and he had found us. I grabbed the phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking. "He's here," I whispered. "Jake's here." The operator kept me on the line, but I couldn't hear her over the sound of the door being kicked in. Jake burst into the room, his face twisted with rage. "You thought you could fucking get away from me," he snarled. I stood in front of the kids, trying to protect them. He lunged at me, and we fell to the floor, struggling. I could feel his hands around my neck, squeezing. I thought I was going to die. But then, I heard sirens. The police burst in, pulling Jake off me, wrestling him to the ground. He was screaming, fighting, but they subdued him and took him away. This time they assured me he wouldn't get out. But even as they led him away, he was laughing. "I'll get you, you fucking bitch. You and those little brats. I'll fucking kill you all." We were taken to a safe house, given new identities. The kids and I tried to start over, but the fear never left us. Every noise, every shadow, made us jump. We lived in constant terror, knowing that Jake was still out there, somewhere. Years passed, and we tried to move on. Emily and Noah grew up, went to college. But the scars remained. Jake was eventually caught, tried, and sentenced to life in prison. But his words still haunt me, his threats echo in my mind. I live every day with the knowledge that he could come back. But I also live with the knowledge that we survived. We are stronger now, forged in the fire of our own destruction. And no matter what happens, we will never let Jake, or anyone like him, break us again.